Okay, so basic real estate bookkeeping tasks. So we started doing real estate bookkeeping in April 2022 for a real estate investor that is based in the US. And our client has more than 10 properties. Nine of them are for long-term rentals, and only one is for short-term rental. So when I speak about real estate bookkeeping for this particular presentation, I'm talking about residential real estate. So we are not talking about here property management or other real estate industries. So we're talking here real estate, residential real estate, and our client is our clients are the owner of the real estate properties. Okay, so they are the owner of the real estate properties. So I'm sharing that because there is uh there is a very specific role in recording the transaction if your client is the owner of the real estate properties. Okay? So if you follow type number 3. Mhm. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So what are the presentation? What is the presentation flow of our sharing for today? So these are the topics that we are going to cover. And these topics here are actually the basic tasks of a real estate bookkeeper in the US. Okay, so if you know how to do this task, then you're good to go as a real estate bookkeeper in the US. Okay, so we have setting up the chart of accounts that is customized for real estate business for rental property owners. Okay, then second is recording daily or weekly or monthly transactions. So these are like financial transactions in the bank or in the credit card of the business. And then third one is tracking accounts receivable and payable. So accounts receivable, so tracking of the rent payments. Accounts payable is tracking if all the bills for repairs and maintenance are paid. Okay, and then number 4 is reconciling the bank accounts or the credit cards or other accounts that needs to be reconciled. Then fifth is handling property purchases and sales. Okay, so actually number 5 is one major task that a real estate bookkeeper knows on how to record purchase of rental properties or purchase of real estate properties. And then also if the real estate property will be sold. So you also know how to record the sale. Okay. So okay. So and then next will be managing loans and interests. So usually rental property owners they acquire the property using mortgage or sometimes they apply for a commercial loan. So it's very important that you as a real estate bookkeeper knows how to record mortgage, interest, and also you know how to reconcile at year end the loans or the mortgages. Okay, and then next is depreciation. So depreciation in my experience, I'm doing this hand in hand with the CPA of my clients. or hand in hand with the tax preparer. Or if there is like a case study for bonus depreciation, then I am doing the entry of the depreciation of the property in the accounting software. Then finally, of course, as bookkeepers, we know our task for reporting and compliance. So there are so aside from preparing financial reports or reviewing the financial reports before we submit that to our clients, then it's also very important that um, we have to make sure that the financial reports are in compliance with the tax laws in the US. And in our case, we always consult this with our the tax preparer or CPA of our. Okay, so type number four. Number four or number, yes, number four, if you follow. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So the next one would, so, okay, so we're now um, going to each of the items of the basic tasks of a real estate bookkeeper. So setting up the chart of accounts. So I listed here five major bullet points. Okay. So I'll start at the middle, which is very important. So assets first. So properties owned, then accounts receivable. For assets, so it's very important that all properties that the real estate investor who owns the properties are set up as a fixed asset in the balance sheet. Okay, all properties, it should be set up in the balance sheet if they are for rental purposes. So they are set up as a fixed asset. Then accounts receivable, of course, it's there are default accounts already in various accounting software for accounts receivable. Okay. So next are the liabilities. So usually if you record the properties, so there are documents that you should need, that you should have, which we are going to show later, but we have a previous content on that. So I will also share with you. So for the liability, so you have to set up the mortgage account. So let's say your client has 10 rental properties and those rental properties are acquired using a mortgage. So you should have 10 mortgage accounts if those are coming from 10 different mortgages. Okay, and it will show as a long-term liability in the balance sheet. Okay, then the next one, which is very important that you should set up in the chart of accounts, is the security deposits payable. So this is very important for me because many times security deposits are recorded as rental income. So that means that your client is paying taxable income that is not actually that are actually security deposits. Okay. So to make sure that these are not categorized as rental income, so you should have security deposit payable. So for example, we have a new client last month, and then the client has 20 units of rental properties for long-term rental. So that means that in the balance sheet, there is a current liability account or a liability account for the 20 units so that you can track the you can track the security deposits payable that is held by the client. Okay. And then, of course, the equity, you have to, it depends. So if your client is a sole proprietor, then they have owner's investment or owner's draw account. Or if they are a partnership, then there is partner A contribution, partner A distribution, and so on. Or if they are an S corporation in the US, so you also need to set up the equity accounts if according to an S corporation and then of course the income accounts. Okay, so rent, security deposit should be here, then late fees, and then property expenses, so mainly mortgage interest, property taxes, maintenance, repairs, utilities. Yeah, so you can ask questions later if you have questions about setting up the chart of accounts. Okay, so we go now about handling property purchases and sales. Okay, so uh, e- every time a real estate investor purchase a property for business, so which is for rental, so you have to declare or set up the property in the financial records. And the properties are set up in the balance sheet, okay, as a fixed asset. So we also have a content for this previously in our YouTube channel on how to record a purchase and sale of a property. So, for example, we have a client in April and they have around like 21 properties. So it's a cleanup project and the properties are actually not set up in the balance sheet. And there are some of the properties that are set up in QuickBooks Online, but then um the associated costs, for example, they are not properly set up because if you are recording property purchase and sale, so you're using a document. So it's called Housing Urban Development Settlement Statement. So it's a purchase settlement statement that you should get from your clients. So I will also share with you what are the documents that you need. And you are entering those items, all items in the purchase settlement statements. You will be entering all of those items in the books using a journal entry. So if you're using Zero, QuickBooks, Wave, or Soho, so you're entering those using a journal entry, okay, including sale of the property and including closing. So if the property is sold, so you have to adjust the books of the client, the balance sheet, so that the property will not show anymore in the balance sheet and all the costs will be transferred to the profit and loss statement. Okay. Okay, so type number 5, if you are still following, and if you are still, if you are not yet sleepy, type number 5. So all of us are very serious tonight, very serious. So everyone is not smiling. Thank you for your smile, Miss Heights. And Miss Anna, thank you. Thank you, Miss Catherine. Thank you, Miss Mary Ann. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bart, for your comment. Thank you very much. So, yeah. So good thing that um we already know now that this is one major task of a real estate bookkeeper. So my question to you, to for all of you is, do you want to be a real estate bookkeeper? Yes or no? Let me check your comments. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ness. Thank you, Glenn. Okay, thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Aloha, thank you. So Aloha actually is the first one who signed up for this event on LinkedIn. Thank you, Aloha. Yes, yes. Okay, very good. Okay, let's continue. Okay. So the next one is recording transactions. Okay. So recording income. So there are many ways on how to record income. So it depends on your client. So if your client is on accrual method, then you have to record income on accrual method. So you have to create monthly invoices for the long-term rental. And you're also creating invoices if those are for short-term rental from Airbnb or from Beerbo. Okay. Then all other income. So other income, it could be like late fees, pet fees, or some of our clients, for example, they have commissions from the laundry in the whole building. So those are from considered as other income. Other income, of course, you have like interest earned from the bank accounts. So yeah, so you have to record that properly. Then expenses. So it's very common to have expenses like repairs. So utilities in the US, you clients are paying for utilities if there is no tenants in the property. But if there are tenants in the property, so clients are not paying for the utilities. Okay? And then of course, if your client has a property manager, then usually they're collecting 10% management fees depending on their agreement for the property management fees. Okay, then you can also create other expense accounts depending on the situation of your client. Then next, this is very important because this is monthly. So monthly mortgage payments. So there are many ways actually there are two ways for me to record mortgage payments. So either you record monthly, all of the whole amount going to the liability account or to the mortgage account, to the balance sheet, or you can split it into principal, which is liability, and then interest expense. So you can also do that using the monthly mortgage statement. So you should have the monthly mortgage statements in order to get the exact amount, how much goes to principal and how much was being paid for the interest expense. Okay. And the other way, the one that I mentioned to you is that you record everything in 1 month. So let's say 1,500. You record that directly to the liability account. And then at end of the year, using the 1098 form, you reconcile the mortgage balance and also you reconcile the mortgage interest that is being paid by the lender to the tax authorities in the US. So we also have um, we also have a content about that. Okay. Then, of course, recording security deposits. So, as I mentioned, you have to record this as liabilities and not income. Okay. So, some of the clients, they return the security deposit, and some clients, in their last month, they will be consuming their security deposit. Okay. So, if you are still following, uh, if you're still following, please type number 6. 6. Okay. So next one is tracking of accounts receivable and payable. So this is very important because and some notes also in tracking rents receivable. Okay. So first you have to monitor the rent payments. So many times I saw that rental property owners, they like use recurring invoices in QuickBooks or in Xero. And then when the tenants is left already their property, then the recurring invoice is still running in the accounting software. So it shows that there's really a big income on the part of the client. So that's why you really have to talk with your client, and then if possible you have access to their property management software. So there's a lot of property management software that rental property owners use in the US. Okay. So if you can have that access, then it's very good because you can see who pays this and then which property, then how much. So all things related to that so that you can check if the payments or deposits comes out in the checking account. So you know which invoice to match those deposits. So it's very important to avoid rental income being duplicated. So yeah. Then of course, rental property owners, they have many bills, okay, for loan maintenance, for they have bills for repairs. Then we have clients from New York, and then they hired a company that gives fuel to the whole building, so it's for the fireplace, so things like that. So you have to usually they pay those bills with checks, so make sure that you also have copies of those checks so that you know which unit or which property the expense belongs. Okay? Because in tracking expenses, not only AR or payables, so many rental property owners actually they want their income and expenses per property. Okay? And in our experience, we use QuickBooks Online and Zero because they have tracking capabilities. So for example, 20 properties in Zero, you can track that in Zero. You can set tracking categories in Zero. But in QuickBooks, so let's say 20, 25. So there's also a limit in classes in QuickBooks. And then my client, in 2022, they have more than 25 rental properties and they use QuickBooks Online Plus. Then later, because QuickBooks Only Plus only only has 250 chart of accounts, so they upgraded to QuickBooks Advance. And then QuickBooks Advance is really very expensive. It's $200 per month. So that client uh migrated to Zero because it's cheaper compared to QuickBooks Advance. Yeah, so you also know how to what subscription you should advise to your client who has many rental properties and who want to track income and expenses per unit or per property. Okay, so that is, I hope that is clear. Okay, and then the next task, okay, is managing loans and interest. So I mentioned previously about payments of mortgage interest, okay, and payments to principal. So and these loans and interest should be properly categorized in the balance sheet. But don't worry, because at year end, your client will request a 1098 form from their lender, and the 1098 form shows the total amount of mortgage interest paid at year end. So that is the external document that you should use to reconcile the mortgage liability account and the mortgage interest account. So that means that the numbers that shows in the 1098 form should match what is in QuickBooks, in Xero, or in any accounting software that your client is using. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Please type number 7. Okay, you're still serious. I'm also serious. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, Resty. Nice to meet you here. Hi, Aaron. Nice to meet you here. So we have thorns among the roses. Few thorns among the roses. Thank you. Hi, Cyan. Okay, so next one would be depreciation. Okay, so set up and track depreciation for properties and major assets using IRS guidelines to spread the cost over the asset useful life. So can you guess what is the depreciable years lifespan of a rental property in the US? How many years can you guess? Or if you have an idea, uh, kindly type in the chat if you have an idea. Let's see, 5 years, 20, 25, 25. Okay, 25, 20. Okay, so Maan is right. It's 27.5 years. Okay, so that is the lifespan, depreciable years of a rental property in the US. Okay. But then, there is but. So in the US right now, there is a so-called bonus depreciation. And the bonus depreciation, based on our experience, we have clients who availed or who implemented bonus depreciation in rental properties. That means that instead of depreciating the property for 27.5 years, the rental property owner can depreciate that in 5, 10, or 15 years. Okay? And they are using a cost segregation study. So usually they're paying a professional to conduct a cost segregation study. And the cost segregation study shows this building property, you can depreciate this for 5 years and the amount of the depreciation. This one is 10 years. This one is 15 years. Okay? So you can ask your client, so client, are we claiming for bonus depreciation this year? So that your client will be, oh, Mary Ann knows what is bonus depreciation. And normally, if I mention them about bonus depreciation, their hearts are happy because they want to depreciate their property and claim tax deduction from the bonus depreciation. Yeah. Okay. So for depreciation, I allow the CPA of my clients to do the depreciation for the buildings. So land is not being depreciated, okay? So land is 20% of the property. So let's say your property is worth 100,000 US dollars. So 20% of that is the cost of land. So only 80,000 will be depreciated and 20 is not part of the amount to be depreciated. Okay. So if there is a cost segregation study, then we are entering depreciation in the accounting software. Or like one of our clients, she is a Filipina and based in Washington, D.C. And then we're bookkeeping for her one long-term rental property and one Airbnb. So she asked me to meet with her accountant to discuss the depreciation. So I really like meeting with accountants, with my clients' accountants. So because I want to discuss with them, I want to learn with them. So you can also be friends with your client CPA or tax preparer if they want. Because some are okay, they're not really that very friendly. Yeah. Okay, and then for you can ask how many years, for example, drywall, how many years they want to depreciate that, or if they bought equipments or HVAC, heating and for air condition. So you can ask and then you can record that in the accounting software. Okay, so always ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions because if you ask questions, you are asking for the right answer from your client or from the CPA, right? So don't guess the depreciation. Okay? Okay. And then next, okay, I think this is one of the final slides that we have. So reporting and compliance, so generating monthly financial statements. Of course, when you generate, you have to review if there is something wrong with the balance sheet. Always start in the balance sheet. So in my case, in our experience, we always start reviewing our clients' financial records from the balance sheet. Okay, so make sure that the properties are properly set up, the mortgage are properly set up, then the banks are reconciled, the credit cards are reconciled, and all accounts are good. Okay, and if your balance sheet is good, then you're good to go to your profit and loss statement. Then you can run the profit and loss statement by property. If your clients subscribe to QuickBooks Online Plus and above, plus to advance. And then for in zero, you can run the profit and loss per property using the tracking categories as well. Okay. So another one here is ensuring compliance with tax reporting requirements, including 1099 for contractors. Actually, 1099. So we are also filing 1099 for our clients. So 1099 forms are if your client hired contractors for their rental property and those contractors are paid beyond $600, then they have to file 1099 for their so it's you can file it as a bookkeeper inside QuickBooks Online and also Xero. Okay, so we also have a content on how to prepare 1099 form for your rental property contractors. Okay, and then some of our clients we file for example, one of our real estate client they are a partnership, so we filed Form 1065 for them on their behalf using their chosen tax software. Okay, and then yeah. Mhm. Okay, so what documents you should need? So if you have a discovery call or interview with the real estate owner, real estate investor, so for me, these are the major documents that you should have. Okay, so HUD1 settlement statement. So this is the agreement when they close the property. So it's a closing statement. So I will show you later. Okay. Uh, what the closing statement looks like. And then the closing disclosure statement is the statement for the mortgage. So it shows everything about the HUD1 and also the details about the mortgage. Okay, so you have to mention that. Client, we need the closing disclosure statement so that I can accurately bookkeep for your real estate business. Okay, then monthly mortgage statements. Okay, so sometimes your client will give you access to the to the mortgage statements. Sometimes they provide copies in Google Drive or in Dropbox. Okay, and then of course bank and credit card statements, then invoices from suppliers. So it's very important also so that you can check the expenses that are paid in the bank or in the credit card versus the invoices from their suppliers. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's it. Okay. So I will show you now. Um, I will show you now the documents, the documents that we are using or we should have for real estate business. Okay, so give me 1 minute. Okay, so actually I have a YouTube content about this. So please check our YouTube channel, Bookkeeping Workflows, where you can check many valuable contents on real estate bookkeeping. And that is only for US. Okay, not Australia, not Canada. Okay, I'm looking at the file right now. Okay, um so Juan Paulo is taking notes of the question. So please write your questions now so that we can answer them later. Okay. Hmm. I want to show you the documents that you should need. Okay, so I already have it. Hmm. Wait, I cannot present this, so I will just sharing my screen, but I cannot present in full screen. Okay. So can you see it now? Okay. So real estate documents you should keep. Okay. So okay, this one. Okay. So this is a copy of the HUD1 settlement statement. So this one is related to the purchase of the property. Okay. So settlement statement HUD1, Housing Urban Development Agency in the US. So this is provided every time there's a closing of a real estate property, either purchase or sale. So either your client is a buyer or also called borrower, or your client is the seller. So this in the left side is the left side. This is the borrower side. So this contract sales price, settlement charges, okay. So contract sales price, this is recorded as part of the cost of the property in the balance sheet. Settlement charges, most settlement charges are they are capitalized costs. So they are not expense in the profit and loss statements, but there are few that you can expense. So there are items you can check inside the settlement statement. What are the items that you can expense in the profit and loss statement? But usually, most of the settlement charges are part of the real estate property. So they show in the balance sheet. So if you're recording this, you have to record this under the rental property account. Okay, and then HOA, you can record that to the HOA dues or HOA fees, deposit or earnest money. So sometimes deposits are investments from your client or earnest, or sometimes the earnest money will be given back. Okay, so
Excuse me, excuse me. Can you present in full screen?
I cannot present in full screen
Yes.
because there's no option to present in full screen. There's only an option to present and record. And I don't want to record the transaction in Canva. Sorry, Juan Paulo. Okay. And then I cannot also zoom out if I'm presenting in full screen. Okay. And then deposit or earnest money, 1,000. So earnest money can create an account, earnest money. It's a current asset account. And then you record it there. And then when it will go back in the bank account, is deposited again. So you just record it in the earnest money account. Okay, because usually earnest money comes back. But sometimes earnest money are gone. So you can expense that earnest money in the books of your client. But of course, always consult with your client's accountant. Okay? So principal amount of new loan, 86,000. This is a mortgage loan. So you have to record this to the mortgage account. Okay? So we are on the borrower side. So that means that your client is the one who purchased the property. Okay? So we also have a content about how to record HUD1 in our YouTube channel. So kindly check. Okay. And this is the closing disclosure statement. Okay. Okay. So the closing disclosure statement, okay, here. Oh, this one. So you have to get this statement, this document, if you're a real estate bookkeeper. Okay, so it shows the loan amount, the interest rate. It shows also how much is the monthly principal and interest. So this one, this is your this is your monthly amount in the checking account. So there's always 1,200 each month, and you have to record that. So make sure that you have this so that you can check if this is payment to the mortgage. Okay? So see, there are like details here, and then below you can also see more details about the closing of the property. Okay? Then the next one is, wait. uh, okay, this one. This one is okay. So this one, if for example your client is a sole proprietor, so many sole proprietor are formed as an LLC in the US, limited liability company. So they're reporting the rental properties on their Schedule E. So you can ask for the copies of tax return. Why? Because in Schedule E, in the Form 1040, you can see the depreciation schedule of the previous year. Okay? So it's very important because you can see how much was depreciated from the previous tax year. And then you can also review that what is in the accounting. So, okay? So if they are like I only have experience in the Form 1040 for their Schedule E. Okay? Okay, next document that you should have is, okay, I'm making this smaller. Okay, 1098 form. So this is the 1098 form. So I'm 1098 form, the lender filed this to the IRS, to the Internal Revenue Service in the US. So they are filing this at year end, and your client should have a copy of the 1098 form. So it shows the total amount of mortgage interest paid during the year. It shows the outstanding mortgage, and it will also show some items here. But in this example, it only shows mortgage interest because that's primary and the outstanding mortgage. So that means that for this particular mortgage and for that particular property, only $2,333.31 should show in the P&L or profit and loss statement as mortgage interest expense. Nothing more, nothing less. So you have to reconcile that at year end. Okay? So if you follow type number 8. Type number 8. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Then the next one is, what's this? Let me, okay. So invoices, yeah, I'll skip that. Okay, so these are like invoices from contractors. You should have that. I'll skip that. That's easy for you. Bank statement, that's also very important. I will not discuss that further. Credit card statements, okay. And then this one, property management owner statement. Okay, so what is a property management owner statement? So remember our client that we are talking here are real estate investors who owns the property. So they hired property management or property manager to manage their properties. Let's say they have 20 properties, 30 properties. So they really need a property manager. And the property management manager has a monthly owner statement. So this is where you can see all the money in and money out of each property. How much rent was received during the month for this property. Let me, okay, and then see, rent income, then the management fee, and then the distribution. Okay, how much is the distribution, and then all other things. So you have to have access um of the property management owner statement. So yeah, you should have that. And then this one is copy of last filed tax return. So if they're 1040 or they're an S corporation having rental properties, so you should have the copy of their last tax return. Okay, because this is where you can see the depreciation schedule, the fixed asset schedule. So all properties are in there, are reported. So they have a separate schedule inside 1040 and 1120S and even for other forms. And then what else? I think that's it. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, Juan Paulo, do we have questions?
We actually have several questions in the chat.
Okay, so I hope we can answer all these questions. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, the first one is from Venus. Do they use also a lapsing schedule for property purchased in computing depreciation?
They wait. Can you repeat?
Okay. Do they use also a lapsing schedule for property purchased in computing depreciation?
Lot lot. What's the name? Or can you type it here?
Okay.
The first question. Okay. Lapsing schedule. I'm not familiar with lapsing schedule. Mm-hmm. But you can always ask your CPA or your tax preparer on what kind of method are they using. But usually they use like a straight line method. Mhm. Yeah, there's a depreciation schedule prepared by the accountant or the tax preparer. Okay, next question, please.
From Catherine, can you show us a sample of journal entry on how to record the transactions in HUD?
Okay, we have a YouTube content on that. You can check. So it's very detailed for purchase, I think for purchase of a property. Yeah. So that you can visit our YouTube channel.
Yes.
You can also recommend topics that we can discuss in our YouTube content. Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, the next one is from Annalisa. Aside from property management and rental property, are there still other types of real estate bookkeeping?
Yes, you can do property management bookkeeping. Property management bookkeeping is usually following trust accounting methods. So it's different. So you're recording income of the properties in the balance sheet and not in the profit and loss statement. So you can research on that. Then there's also you can also go to niche down to short-term rental, but it's also the same with long-term rental. The same process, except that you are recording Airbnb and Birbo booking channels income. Okay.
Okay, the next one is from Mika. Can we also discuss flipping and investing properties?
Flipping, we do have a few clients who do flipping. Um, but usually for flipping, because they are not recorded as the flip properties are not recorded as fixed asset. Rather, they're recorded as inventory asset or current asset in the balance sheet. Okay, so you can uh dig more on that on YouTube. I do not have a content on that, but maybe on the future in the future. Thank you.
And I think the last one is from Dibina. Is the earnest money not being part of rent income?
No, no, no. So earnest money, so it's like I am buying this property in good faith, so I'm giving you an earnest money. Then later when I already bought the property, then the earnest money will be returned. If not returned, for example, they're not successful in purchasing the property, so some accountants, they will advise you to record that as an expense and not as a current asset.
And we have another question from Jessa. Can a non-accountant perform tax preparation services?
We do tax preparation services for 1099. We also do 1040, 1065, and 1120S on behalf of the client. But if you're doing tax preparation on as a non-accountant, yes, you can. You can you can work with tax firms in the US and you are working under their firm. Do we
And
have more questions?
we have another one from Resty. Hello po. How many hours per day do you usually work for these clients?
For clients, so there are clients that we only work like 1 hour per month or two
Oh,
hours per month. There are clients that we work like 4 hours per day. So it depends. It depends on the client. So actually, our pricing is based per property. So especially for a short-term rental, we are pricing them per property. Mhm.
do we have any more questions, everyone?
Okay, so no more questions. Thank you very much. Thank you. So good luck, everyone, and thank you very much for attending our session for today. So Abby is raising her hand. Maybe she wants to say something.
I am really sorry for actually disturbing you guys or interfering. Pero I'm kind of interested kasi I had a client before that I wasn't able to like distinguish her the form of type of real estate that she was doing. Back then, she was actually like an agent. So, for example, she would buy a property, flip it, and then the full cost of the property because she has a settlement there. But so there's like a type of categorization that you would do for each of the settlement cost, right? So I was kind of how can I explain this? Interested in terms of doing real estate depreciation in terms of prepping with the returns. So I was kind of thinking, let's say, have you encountered this type of scenario wherein if the tax depreciation was taken up by you guys, the bookkeepers, and then the prepper of the returns, which is the CPA, took about like 80% of what you guys have booked as a depreciation. Do you guys adjust it? Do you adjust it to confirm with the depreciation that the that the CPA or the tax accountant has taken up in either of your retained earnings if the books were closed, or if the books are still open, or if it's still open to and if the client allowed for it to be included in that year and not in the RE. Have you have been given that kind of scenario to which it
Mm-hmm.
happened?
Mm-hmm. Actually, our workflow for that, so in case that we are not the one, usually it's not us, it's not me or my partner is doing the depreciation for the properties. So, for example, in one client, just we finished just this month. So in 2022, we did that record depreciation in their accounting software.
Mm-hmm.
And then they already filed their taxes. So what we have done is we get a copy of the tax return and copy the amount of depreciation and record the accumulated depreciation in their accounting software.
Oh, so you do it backwards. So for example,
Backward,
yes,
yeah.
if there was yes.
But there are also some clients that I all actually enter depreciation based on the CPA or tax preparer's amount.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entering it on my own.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good practice. Yes. And how about like for example, if you see there's like the example that I had earlier with a specific clients who flips the return. Like for example, they would keep it on their statement of financial position or in their books for a certain time, but
Mm-hmm.
within a year, let's say
Mm-hmm.
like they're part of their inventory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you for example, let's say they bought a property for like the half of the year and then they sold it. Uh
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yes. Do you guys still take depreciation for it, or is it just the
Um,
inventory?
I have not experienced that kind of situation, but I will always consult with the tax preparer on what to do.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for because this is really significant in terms of like preparation for taxes, because for example like you guys in the real estate, like if there's something there's like something significant that would flow in your depreciation,
Mm-hmm.
it is considered, actually any adjustment to it is a considered as a tax savings
Mm-hmm.
or cash flow, like something it would
Yeah, yeah,
significantly impact your cash flow. But
yeah.
thank you so much for actually answering my question.
Thank you, Abby. And I hope we can prepare more tax returns for real estate business owners in the future. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. I think uh we're out of questions. we're out of questions. So thank you again. Thank you again for participating in our very short sharing. And I hope you learned something from this sharing webinar or gratitude webinar. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then you can also join our very humble community. It's bookkeeping workflows, and many of you are fellow members, just like me, in the bookkeeping workflows community. And let's keep on doing online bookkeeping, tax preparation, and keep on helping others. So thank you very much, everyone.